Flood is one of the most frequent natural hazards in Fiji. It can occur at any time during the year. The consequences of flooding has affected the lives of many Fijians around the country. This week on Nation's Business, we bring to you how the government through the Ministry of Waterways is working on flood resilience techniques to minimize flood risks in the future. Flooding has an immediate effect on communities and individuals. It also contributes to economic loss, especially in agriculture, public transportation, sugar industry, to name a few. We'll also bring to you the Honorable Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama's visit to flood-affected areas in Labasa. The low-lying areas of Labasa is where economic activity is thriving. However, floods and droughts pose a huge threat to the economic development of this small northern town. Earlier this year, Fiji experienced severe weather conditions and Labasa was not spared. It was projected that if conditions worsen, many livelihoods would be threatened and damages to infrastructure would increase. The Minister for Waterways, Honorable Mahendra Reddy, while speaking in Parliament, said projections suggest that the world may face a 40% shortfall in water availability by 2030.
Mr. Speaker, around the world, people's livelihoods are being threatened because of too little water, too much water, or lack of high-quality water. And the recent floods in Fiji depicts this reality in our interconnected world.
Dr. Mahendra Reddy said it was time to act and turn off actions that compromised sustainability of water resources and focus on management actions.
Madam Speaker, water management is at the core of recent milestone agreements such as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Reduction 2015-2030, and the 2015 Paris Agreement. The recent COP23, which our Honourable Prime Minister proudly chaired, and the Paris Agreement was a major breakthrough in establishing the importance of climate resilience. For the first time in global climate talks, adaptation was given the recognition it deserves. Madam Speaker, 90% of climate adaptation is about water, and this further stresses the importance of good water management.
The people of the greater Labasa area depend a lot on the Labasa River, as it is also where they get their main source of income from through fishing. Honorable Reddy says to secure livelihoods, government through his ministry will assess and manage the water resources, including surface water and waterways, and develop critical understanding of the water resources and the associated hydrological processes. This is a scientific study of water movement, distribution, and the environmental sustainability.
Madam Speaker, surface water refers to water that flows on our waterways, including river, lake, wetland, or ocean. Madam Speaker, surface water accounts for majority of our drinking water, and national water needs. Therefore, management of our watersheds and associated water bodies, including surface water assessment, are paramount. Madam Speaker, the direct and indirect effects of lack of understanding of our waterways, hydrological dynamics of river and associated hydrological events have been felt throughout our economy. Therefore, it is vital that we now venture into watershed planning, waterways monitoring and planning, and carrying out technical analysis of our watersheds and related conveyance systems.
Recently, the Minister for Waterways was in Vunulevu and visited flood-prone areas. At Ngelewanga, in previous years, when there is a heavy downpour of rain, it's just like another water catchment area, where water from the drainage system, waterways and upper catchments meet up, causing a massive flood. The Minister's visit to Ngelewanga was to ensure proper planning for the design of a proper channel of water as a preventative measure for flooding in low-lying areas.
The real work going forward for the next 3 to 4 years would be how we manage our catchment area, our watersheds. We need to understand what is happening in our catchments and watershed. We need to demarcate and map out the entire catchment areas, which we haven't done at the moment. We need to have detailed data on each waterway, each river, stream that comes downstream to the downstream to the catchment to the drainage system. Once we have detailed data on that, do all the soil tests that are required, then only we can develop a master strategy to manage our catchments and watershed, so that two things: we try to hold maximum water there, and secondly, any water that comes in, we let it come slowly, gradually, and our waterways are designed to handle that volume of water and discharges out through the drainage system to the sea.
Recently, the Ministry of Waterways conducted maintenance work in the drainage system of the Ngelewanga areas, and this has brought smiles to the faces of the communities in the area. Gayan Wati, a 68-year-old lady of Ngelewanga, was all smiles as she greeted the team and lauded them for improving the drainage system next to her house.
सब पोस्ट के नीचे सब पानी भर जाता है, काठी भर पानी हो जाता है बेटा सा, तो अभी हाल अच्छा है ना सब चीज़ के। आप लोग अभी मोड़ी निकाल दिया है, ड्रेन खोदाई गई है, तो बहुत अच्छा हो गया ना, अब पानी नहीं रुके हमारा अंगना में। बहुत खुशी है हम ना, अनिष्ठा आई से और हम लोग के ख्याल करी से ना लेट हो जाता है, सब ऐसे भर जाता ना, ये पहाड़ के पानी से उतर के हमारा अंगना में।
We're doing some work in Waterways, so we'll go to Waterways. Waterways is a place which is quite low-lying area, and often they find problems of saltwater intrusion, and it is a very fertile land. But as you know, a lot of these arable fertile land are found near coastal areas. So that's the nature in volcanic countries, but there's a problem associated with it. The problem is of saltwater intrusion. So because of that, we need to ensure that we maintain the drainage system. And the drainage system also requires floodgates. Floodgates which ensures that when there is high tide, the gate closes so that water doesn't come in, and when there is low tide, upstream water can flow out. The gate opens.
In this segment, Nation's Business will bring to you the highlights of the areas visited by the Minister for Waterways, Honorable Mahendra Reddy. These are areas of Wailevu, Ngelewanga, Soasoa, Winika and Siberia, where the Ministry of Waterways is carrying out repair works in trying to improve the drainage systems.
Some of the work we have done in Wailevu, the drainage system, how we have maintained the drainage system. We have constructed new crossings, and we have also installed new gates for the floodgates and drains that we have there. Because when the floodgate is open and there's high tide, then salt water gets into the farm, and once the salt water gets into the farmland, then it will take months and months to get the salt out, and once the salt water gets, that affects the soil pH and therefore affects nutrient uptake, and then that land becomes totally unsuitable for agriculture.
Cane farmers along the Wailevu Tiri area in Labasa can now have a better harvest following an improvement in the drainage system by the Ministry of Waterways. Elated farmer Sri Krishna says that this would mean an increase of 400 tons of canes compared to last year, where he harvested 529 tons.
The major challenges that we are facing before was from the sea water that was entering through the poor floodgates. Now that the ministry has taken active and bold steps to contain the water from entering the farms, I am sure we are going to increase our farm outputs, that is the yield, in the coming years. Especially for my farm, I used to lose about 80 to 100 tons of cane.
Minister for Waterways Dr. Mahendra Reddy has requested members of the public to refrain from vandalizing floodgates because replacing them is an expensive exercise and communities will suffer.
To construct a new floodgate, let's say you want to have a floodgate in a seawall, it will take about $60,000-$70,000 to construct a floodgate. Now just to change the gate itself, it will cost you about $6,000-$7,000 just for one gate.
A lot of work has been done in places like Soasoa in Labasa. This is an area prone to flooding.
This is Soasoa floods. you know, this area is known for flooding. This is the first stage in our project for Soswa to minimize any flooding here. You can see this drain. We have widened it about twice. We have also made it deeper. This will contribute significantly towards minimizing the amount of water that spills over this waterway. This is one of the contributing factors to flooding in this Soswa flood area. But as you can see here, this is a massive, large catchment, and this is we have to look at the downstream here, and we want to clear this up. We also want to develop new waterways to drain out water that kind of fills in this catchment. This is the main creek. This is the main creek that causes flooding in Soswa. If you've heard about flooding in Soswa, this is the creek. Half of Gelemumu, entire Vunika, this is the catchment. So if this creek is clogged up with debris and household rubbish, then there's no way we can fix the flooding issue in this area. So not only we need to deepen and widen this and clear up, but we have to also ensure that people behave responsibly and they look after this creek, look after the drainage system that gets water into this creek.
It was heavy rain and the flood was about here. Plenty water here. All thing damaged in the kitchen, all water. Yeah, we moved up there on the Malaushoya shop, left side. One house there and the shop.
Families living in some of the flood-prone areas in Lambasa have praised the Ministry of Waterways for their work that has improved their living condition. Residents of Gelawanga, Soswa and Vunika have testified to the impact of the work done that has kept their homes and farms flood-free in recent rainy conditions. Along the Siberia area, the Ministry of Waterways has also carried out major clearing of the drainage system.
You see, this is the Siberia Vunidudi Road, which services this community here, Siberia, as well as the community in Vunidudi. When there's heavy rain, it's about 200 to 300 meters of this road are under water, about this height, about 1.5 meters. All these houses you can see here are underwater. What we did, this is about 2 kilometers.
Yeah, total of 2 kilometers.
2 kilometer length of this drain that we dug up, widened and cleared it. Now the flooding is thing of the past now.
I come and go, but he has experienced floods here for last. Kitna din se bhaiya?
30 years.
For last 30 years, he has experienced floods here because of this drainage. Now, the last flood, when it came, because of this dug properly, there was no flood. Little bit only.
I'm very happy this kind of drainage never has been done before. Last 30 years I've been here. This is the first time the drainage has been dug. More flood come, but at the same time they go away.
It's very nice to see the present government has done these lovely things for us here, which has not been done for years and years and years. They used to dig only a few meters and then they used to go away. Now it's been done right through. It's such a lovely job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.
Right.
Our question for this week: who is the Fiji's climate champion for COP23? A. Honorable Linia Siriratu. B. Lukenda Unibano. C. The Honorable Frank Bainimarama. Or D. The Honorable Ayaz Sayed Kayoum. If you think you know the answer to the question, please log on to the Fijian government Facebook page for your answer. 5 lucky winners will receive a copy of this week's Nation's Business DVD. Submit your answer before 4 p.m. Thursday, July 5th, 2018.
In this segment, Nation's Business will bring to you the highlights of the Minister's visit to Wainikoro, and later on we will bring to you the highlights of the Honorable Prime Minister's visit to the North. At Wainakoro, this stretch of road is normally flooded when there is a heavy downpour. It disrupts the public transportation services, leaving many people stranded.
रास्ता पानी खींचा नहीं ये रास्ता ला भी जन कलपट है वो उतने मोटा कलपट है यहाँ सब टाइम फ्लड रहे पहला बार हम लोग घर में पानी आ जाए
तो आपके जो इशू है रास्ता ला इशू तो रास्ता के कलपट जो है वो बहुत पतला है तो वो पानी उसके पूरा पानी ले नहीं पाए तो पानी ओवरफ्लो है FRA के इशू
FRA राइट
और FSC ला जो ब्रिज है कौन ला FSC
के वहाँ पे मेन लाइन है
ट्रम लाइन है उसके नीचे कलबट है
हाँ उसके नीचे कलबट दो जगह कलबट
तो कोई भी कलबट जब लगावा जावे तो पहले हम लोग कैलकुलेट करा जाए कि कितना डिस्चार्ज है यानी कि कितना पानी उसमें से जाए ना तो उस साइज के कलबट लगवा जाए तो अब कौन सी होगी अब डिस्चार्ज ज़्यादा होगी कलबट सब जगह चेंज करेंगे वॉल्यूम ऑफ वाटर वॉल्यूम ऑफ रेनफॉल आप लोग अभी बताओ मैं पहले ये रकम पानी बरस रहा जो रकम अभी है तो अब हम लोग
जैसे हम लोग के जो ड्रेनेज मेन ड्रेन है ये बहुत लंबा जाए ना पहला बात है यहाँ से लेके एकदम नवा लेवल जाए निकले अगर एक जगह पे FSC वाला मोटा कलपट बीच में लग जाए तो हम लोग के बहुत बार आओ जी पानी शॉर्टकट पानी निकल सीधा नदी क्या कि यहाँ सियोल बना है
After so many years, the road has gone down. As you know, the volume of water that is being discharged now is much greater than 30-40 years ago when these culverts were established. Now, whenever anybody, whether it's FSC or FRA, decides to use a particular size of culvert, the size of the culvert is based on computations on the volume of discharge, water discharge. But in the meantime, we are also saying that what we will do on the other side of this farm there, what we will do, we'll try to divert the water to the creek directly instead of all the water coming here. So that is something that we can do immediately to deal with the issue. But in the medium to longer term, I think the solution is one to change the culverts, both the FRA culverts as well as the FSC culverts.
The Honourable Minister visited farmers in the greater Wainakoro areas to see and experience firsthand the challenges farmers go through when there is a severe flooding in the area, destroying their agricultural products. Also explaining to the farmers the government's commitment to develop the rural interior sector of the country. To service agriculture in the rural interior sector, government will ensure that the supporting infrastructure is available, such as roads, electricity and water.
A common problem that has been raised throughout our visits has been flooding due to excessive rain, and this flooding is arising because the drainage system is not up to date with the current contemporary condition of weather condition. Now, particularly roads, you will see a lot of roads, the roadside drain is missing or has not been looked after. And then the other issue is the culvert that that crosses the road. That culvert, any culvert, allows for certain volume of water to be discharged. Now, when a road is constructed, the engineers decide what size of culvert needs to be installed. The same thing applies with FSC tram line, where there are culverts, and these culverts are either blocked or the culverts are too narrow. So that is something that we are liaising with FSC and FRA to see if they could come as quickly as possible to start changing the culverts.
Dr. Reddy said research is needed to ascertain trends in occurrence of extreme rainfall and flood events during the last few decades. He added the Ministry of Waterways would need to establish a relationship between rainfall events and flood-prone areas in respective catchments.
With the creation of Ministry of Waterways, we are expanding to the entire agriculture sector, as well as settlements and urban area. So we
are deploying our engineers to survey. We don't want to come and start digging drains. We want to get our engineers to survey the area and design a network structure on which we will, based on which we will do the drainage system, and then farmers can then get their farm drain onto on that main drainage network. So these are in new areas. In the existing areas, there are some drains which hasn't been serviced for some time. So we are looking at servicing that as well.
Meanwhile, recently the Prime Minister, Honorable Rengem Bainimarama, was in the north to visit the flood-affected areas. The head of government was briefed at the Naulmoto House in Bua to get an overview of the total damage done by the recent floods caused by Tropical Cyclone Kenny and Tropical Cyclone Josie.
So this is the affected area that was affected during those rainfall. These are the affected settlements that were affected. Galimu matani waina moni na toka muni wai ai ulo winaya bulile kanagula nangai okos marlo korowin muni wa unika muni bis. Those are the areas where those catchment areas that had that rainfall on that day.
The impacts of flood in the Greater Lambasa area affected many sectors such as agriculture, sugar industry, education, dwelling houses, and infrastructures such as roads, electricity, and water. These damages resulted in government spending massive amount of funding to bring back normalcy to its citizens. From the briefing, the Honorable Prime Minister visited the flood-affected areas in Lambasa.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming in.
You had the bus?
Yes. The actual damage on the other end is because when the base has shifted due to the force of the water.
When you look from the
1.5 meters.
It's moved. Yeah.
So next time we'll expect you to be coming from the other end. So we are nearly 1,200 people across the road.
Okay.
We are the beneficiaries of this bridge.
Yeah. No, we'll get it fixed.
We'll be more than welcome.
And you've heard the CEO said you're going to build a bridge up the river there.
Link the two roads, Karatari and Siberia.
And that will be a secular road then. That will be great to us. A great relief. So many farmers have left because of during this crushing season. There's no road at the moment. We can't cross on the vehicle. We can just either walk down or we have to go all the way to the town and then come across here.
How did you used to cross before?
We just walk.
No,
and during
cane.
During that they will put it in the river, grade it and upgrade, and then we'll cross.
Across there, you see this small bus shelter over there?
Yeah.
The Siberia road comes through the hills and it ends at that bus shelter.
Okay.
Yeah. This unsealed road goes around and there's a short section goes down the hill to the river, right where that bus shelter is.
Is there going to be Irish crossing? Or
it'll be a higher Irish crossing.
Okay.
So we build 2.5 square box culverts, concrete slab on top, and then the water can flow through. There'll be about 6 cells, 2.5 wide, maybe 8 if we can fit them in. The water will flow through. It will overtop in really bad storms.
Okay.
But generally it'll be okay, and we'll do the roads down in with a bit wider, maybe 7 metres wide. The short section on this side is about 150 metres of cane road there. So we'll talk to FSC about improving that road, linking it onto the crossing that will go on to Siberia.
Okay.
And that will give us a really good resilience all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, given the importance of water in the small island countries, the Prime Minister has set a vision to address water management in Fiji by establishing the Ministry of Waterways.
The Ministry of Waterways will endeavour to address national water management problem by addressing cross-sectional interest in water, watershed management, and employing participatory integrated approaches in water resource planning, development, and water management in Fiji. Furthermore, the Ministry will lay a foundation for sustainable use and development of water resources, protection of the ecosystem and the environment in which water resources are situated, and assist the integration of water resource management with other natural resource management.